Okay, so I don't know why I'm making this video. I'm just gonna talk and pretend like I'm just talking to myself, because how else can you truly be honest when nobody's watching? So, I don't know, many people, nobody fucking knows, but I grew up me and my siblings grew up in a pretty unorthodox ways. We were raised kind of off the grid, grew up in a converted school bus, homeschooled. For entertainment, we read books, played outside, and I used my imagination, something fierce. And growing up, you don't know any different, and life, I now understand, while complicated, I am so fucking grateful that I was raised and grew up the way that I was raised and grew up. Now, there's always the introduction into society, right? Now, like I said, we read books, and we were homeschooled, and so I lived in a world of books in my imagination, We didn't have a TV except for here and there, a little fuzzy black and white one that we weren't allowed to watch except for the nightly news, or when my folks went to town and we had a chance to watch it, if you know what I mean. So I didn't have the imprinting that a lot of people do from society as a whole. Now, that's both good and bad, but mostly good, I think. Because what it allowed me to do, for one, I think, is just be whoever the fuck I am. It allowed me to just grow and develop in my brain and in my mind, and have the influences that I had influenced me to just be whoever it is that I've turned out to be. We didn't have the peer pressure of looking a certain way, or going to school and being bullied, or anything like that. And we are still a very tight-knit family. Not without problems, because who the fuck doesn't have those, but for real. And then I had a fantastical imagination, of course. I wanted to be everything growing up, from a ballerina to a gymnast to an Olympic swimmer to a author to a teacher to, well, the list goes on and on. Some of it not so something society would frown on, right? But I learned that in spite of what someone does, it doesn't. What I've learned, I guess, from that, and maybe the point of this video is, what I've learned is that what someone does not the person make, if that makes sense. Like, what somebody does for a career, what somebody does for a living, what somebody does in their as a way to make money or to survive does not make them that person. It is something they do. Now, there are some exceptions to that, I think. For example, police officers. After however long, once a police officer, always a police officer. Military, once military person, always a military person at heart. So I think there's some exceptions, in my opinion. Of course, this is all opinion. But I realize that I think society is super freaking judgmental over what somebody chooses to do as a career, or as a job, or as a way to make money, or something. And that, I think, is totally unfair. And so I was just driving along, and I was thinking about it, because I did EMS for about 15 years. 15 years, who knew? I got my EMT when I was early 20s. And then I just never looked back. Now, it wasn't a career that I had ever intended to go into. In fact, my whole family did it, so I was just kind of like, I don't want to do that. But when I took the class, I had a knack for it. I mean, I clinically I was good. And I've been told, I shouldn't say that. I think I learned a lot, and I already knew a lot, and that helped me. But people said, you're really good at this. And it was a great job. I met a lot of great people, worked with some of the, truly, I think, some of the best providers I've ever met that there are even out there. And I know there's always somebody smarter, better, faster, fill in the blank, but in my opinion, some of the clinicians and some of the medics and some of the EMTs that I've worked with were truly just blessed with that touch, so to speak. and that knowledge and that ability to critically think and treat and diagnose, because in spite of what people think, most people, we do diagnose and we treat accordingly. Now, what I'm doing now, obviously, is not emergency medicine, right? Clearly, I'm a cam girl, I'm doing muscle fetish videos, I'm making a living now in sort of this weird ass gray area of the world. You know, the sex industry is huge. It's fucking massive. It's billions of dollars a year. And yet, I've had some people judge me like, oh my God. But I just gotta say this. How is it, if it's such a bad thing, if it's so terrible and nobody should even talk about sex, much less like show their body or anything, why is it a multi-billion-dollar a year industry? Well, because sex, people like sex, people like aesthetic beauty, people like if you name the fetishes out there, and who cares? That's the way I look at it. I'm not making this video to say, oh, I'm defending myself or anything like that. I'm not. Why? Because I don't give a fuck what people think, in the sense that I just don't care. If you're not interested in anything like that, then sure, you are totally within your rights and reasons and whatever not to partake in it, and that's okay. But it is what it is, right? And frankly, I have to say this. The people that I've met, the people that I've interacted with and the people I've come to know online, some of them are amazing. And most of them, I can't even say any of them are bad people, because I genuinely don't know in that context what is bad, what is good. And the funny thing is as long as you're not hurting someone who doesn't want to be hurt, okay, that's a shout out to you masochists. Mind your own business. That's what I say. Mind your own business. And then unless it affects you, then mind your own business. Now, if it affects you, that is a whole different duck in a whole different pond, and I don't have a solution for that. I say that people desire what they desire, and I think it's pretty ingrained in certain ways, and their desires are not likely to change. Mine didn't. Mine haven't for years. I'm still, desire-wise, I still have the same similarities in my desires that I had 10 years ago, 15 years ago, from the time I was becoming aware of sexuality. That is very similar. It's changed, sure, a little, but add additions, subtractions, but it's mostly kind of this baseline of where I have my desires, and those have not changed. So, if you're not compatible sexually with somebody, that can be tough. I've been there, and it's very, very hard to deal with when you're on the other side of that. I get it. But I say, if that's the case, move the fuck on. That's what I did. That's what people should do, because you can't change somebody or fix something that isn't broken, or change somebody who doesn't want to be changed, or doesn't want to change, whatever. And honestly, I am an advocate for this. I am an advocate for treating people with respect, no matter what industry they're in. And I will stand by that until my grave. I know some people who go to strip joints and say, oh yeah, but I would never date a stripper. I would never marry a stripper. But you're going there and you're entertained by them, and it's okay to do that. So don't judge people based on what they do. Because I had 15 years in public service as an EMT, which means we go into people's homes and walk into their lives, and we literally see some of the most in-depth, some of the darkest, some of the saddest, and some of the happiest moments that people experience in their lives. We are entrusted with that. And you have to have integrity to do it right. Now, I am in a world now where I'm basically showing off my body and being paid. I am giving people with specific fetishes something that they need. And yes, it's a need. It is. Because people, if some people go out, say you have a bicep fetish, say you have an armpit fetish, say you have a tongue fetish or a mouth fetish, and you try to tell somebody that, what are most people thinking right now? Oh, what? That's the response people get. So things become taboo because people are judged when they bring them up. Now, I'm a submissive, sexual submissive, especially if somebody is a good dominant, I'm like putting in their paws. However, if somebody is a submissive and they are less strong than I am, and I don't mean necessarily physically, but less willful than I am, I'll be a hell of a dominant. So, to me, it's like, we're all a mix of everything. I don't care who you are, something turns you on. And most people are like, oh my God, I'd never be able to say that. Now, there are some things that I don't agree with, I will not ever agree with. And I think it's not a fetish, it's beyond that, and we're not going to discuss those here because this is a positive video. But we all know what I'm talking about. Those things are unacceptable. If you're using deceit or coercion or trickery or something like that or actual non-consent, then or someone who cannot consent, then that's not cool. That ain't cool. But I'm just saying, like, I think as the whole fucking world, we all need to stop worrying about what other people are doing and stop judging other people based on something they do or something they're entertained by or something that they're turned on by. And how about look at our own cup of tea? How about we look at our own closet? How about we look in our own mirror and not be a judgy McJudge face, because that ain't cool. So anyway, but what I was good. So that basically, that's my point, is just that I had to get that out because recently on, I had a Ask Me Anything, and it wasn't a question, it was a statement somebody left berating me and telling me I needed to get right with God and be somebody's pleasant company for a change or something. And I had to laugh because you don't apparently know anything about me and my company or my beliefs. And so I thought it was actually very entertaining, but just remember, just because somebody does something, it does not make them whatever it is you have in your head that comes to mind. Because, as I said before, 15 years in EMS, you have to have integrity. You have to have a solid ethical and moral code. That doesn't go away. And because I am showing my body and giving people things that they don't otherwise have the ability to find or will be laughed at, judged for, that does not make a bad person, and neither does the person who's consuming it. It does not make them a bad person. And I know a lot of people are like, porn addiction and all of that. Fine. Everything has a potential for addiction. Everything. From food, to television, to cellular phones, to pornography, to drugs, to sugar, to fat, salt. Everything has a potential to cause the right person or the wrong person to become physically or physiologically or psychologically dependent on it. Which addiction, in my opinion, that's a whole different thing. But so what I'm saying is, if somebody in your life has an issue and you are not able, they are not willing to accommodate and work with you on that, you have hard decisions to make. They're not making them, you have hard decisions to make. And people will only change if they want to. Everybody can change, but people will only change if they see the utility or the necessity or have the desire to. So if somebody in your life, don't blame me, don't blame Jenna Jameson, don't blame somebody else. Don't. Yes, it's powerful. Yes, it's amazing. Yes, it's very, 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 very hard to break an addiction. But the person who has it has to see the utility of it, has to have the desire for it. Not you, not anybody else. It won't make any difference. So if you're faced with that situation, it's easy to blame. It's easy to blame yourself. It's easy to blame them. And it's easy to blame whatever it is they're addicted to. Don't blame any of that. It is, our brains like to feel good, and dopamine is a very powerful substance. And people only change if they want to. So you just have to take care of you and do what's right for you. That's the end of it. They will come or they won't. No pun intended. And I've been there, so I know what that feels like, and it's terrible. But you better realize that nothing can be done except for what you can do for you and take care of yourself. But also, don't judge people. Don't, please. Don't. All of the love, bye.